Historical Local Studies, Lecture 2. A historical reconstruction of the everyday life of peasants in the Kharkiv region in the 1920s. Historical reconstruction in local studies in the recreation of a region's past based on local historical sources. Historical reconstruction of the everyday life of a carpenter in the village of Slobozhanska, Kharkiv region during the new economic policy period 1921-1929, the period of the new economic policy. Location: the village of Slobozhanska, Kharkiv region. Character: a village carpenter aged 35-50 who opened a household and home workshop. Activities: making and repairing furniture, household items, doors, windows, and wooden structures. Type of reconstruction: a generalized image of a craftsman reconstructed from museum, archival, ethnographic, and photographic sources. Source base for the historical reconstruction of everyday life is the Kharkiv region during the NEP period. Periodical as a source for the historical reconstruction of local studies in the Kharkiv region. Newspaper and magazine materials of the 1920s as evidence of everyday life, labor and social processes. Reflect economic life, craft, and the everyday life of the population. Contains information on labor, agriculture, prices, and trade. Record local events, public sentiment, and cultural practices. Complements museum, archival, and oral history sources. The periodical press is an important written source for reconstructing the history of the Kharkiv region during the NEP period. The exhibits of the Slobozhanska Local History Museum are valuable material sources for the historical reconstruction of the traditional everyday life and craft of the Kharkiv region population. Sources for the historical reconstruction from the Slobozhanska Local History Museum. Spinning wheel, wooden dugout mortar, wooden trough, traditional household items. The museum exhibits are important material sources for studying the history and everyday life of Slobozhanщина. Wooden dugout mortar, a material source from the Slobozhanska Local History Museum. Wooden dugout mortar. It was used for bolting and processing grain, growth, seeds, and other food products. It was made from a thickened section of the thick log. The inside was hollowed out using an adze and chisels, while the outer surface was shaped with an X. The pestle was made separately from hardwood. Rubber and rolling pin from smoothing linen. Material sources from the Slobozhanska Local History Museum. It was used for smoothing homespun linen. The rubber was carved from a wooden board. The rolling pin was made from a rounded wooden rod. Spinning wheel, a material source from the Slobozhanska Local History Museum. It was used for spinning linen, hemp, or woolen thread. It was made of wood. The price support legs, hub, and spindle were turned, while the wheel was assembled from the rim, hub, and spokes. The parts were joined with mortise and tenon joints, wooden pegs, and sometimes glue. Carpenter tools of the 1920s. Material sources for reconstructing the woodworking craft of the Kharkiv region. Axe, adze, hand plane, hand saw, bow saw, gouges as chisels, price drill, hammer, wooden mallet, wooden clamps. Reconstruction of the carpenter's workshop in the 1920s. The carpenter's workshop in the 1920s was a small utility building equipped with a workbench, hand tools, stock of timber, and finished products. Here the carpenter carried out the complete woodworking process from marking and sewing to assembling and repairing wooden items. Reconstruction of the carpenter's clothing in the 1920s. The clothing of a carpenter in the 1920s was simple and practical. A short trousers, an apron, a waistcoat, headwear, and sturdy footwear. It allowed freedom of movement and provided protection during manual woodworking. Approximate cost of a carpenter's product and service in the 1920s. Chair, simple bench, wooden table, chest, bed, baby cradle, plain door, window frame, repair of a cart of farm equipment, 1 day of a carpenter's work. Reference. Conclusion. Historical reconstruction makes it possible to recreate the everyday life of peasants and carpenters in the Kharkiv region during the new economic policy period. Museum exhibits, archival material, and photographic sources reveal the distinctive features of people's work, everyday life, and craft. The study of local heritage contributes to preserving the historical memory and traditions of the Kharkiv region. Thank you for your attention. We look forward to scientific research and new discoveries in the field of historical local studies.